Alrighty, everyone. Welcome back to Blender Civ. Hopefully, this is another quick tutorial because there's been a progress. Um, as you know from the last video, I told you we were going to officially start uh, on the net. Start and get going here and all the things that we're doing, and we're going to get officially started with Fluent, and we're going to focus mainly on Fluent at the first of it. And I thought for a moment. And then I saw in the Discord that Blender Market actually has their spring sale going on. And, I said, you know what? If I'm going to get involved with Fluent and stuff, well, eventually we're going to have to put material and stuff on our models. And so, I didn't have Materializer. So I said, you know what? Maybe we'll just make a complete thing. We'll, do Fluent and Materializer together. And so I took the plunge. I got Materializer on the spring sale, and you guys can pick it up the same. Now's the time to get it. It is good until the 18th, I think. So all this week, 13th or no, 18th, 5 day, 18th, April 18th. So be sure to pick it up for like $26.95, I think it is, or something like that. But after the spring sale is over, it's going to go back up to $35. So be sure you pick it up. And as always, links in the description. If you want to pick it up and help support the channel, that'd be great also. But let's get going here. We're going to show some. We're not going to try not to scare you. We're going to show a little bit of Materializer to you. Not really go into anything depth yet. But show you what it looks like, and what to expect from it and everything. And I will be covering everything about it. But first, we're going to model this. We're going to use Fluent, and we're going to make our models first. And then I will cover Materializer when our models are finished and we go to put materials and stuff on them. And also, I'm going to show some people. There's been some talk, between Fluent and HardOps and BoxCutter and, back and forth and this and that. Look, CJ Thought, the developer of Fluent, put out a video today also on doing grids, putting grids in and having to bend them. And Fluent doesn't do that. Fluent makes the grid. You can make the grid and everything and put it out and everything like that. But you can't bend it with the fluid tools that there is. And that's not a problem. This is so highly misunderstood, and it's so simple. Simple. People, this is Blender, okay? Blender. Add-ons are just that. They're add-ons. They're not meant to live and die by. You don't build a whole scene, or a whole game, or whatever it is that you're doing. You don't build a whole thing by strictly using Fluent or strictly using BoxCutter or whatever tool it is that you're using. That's Blender's job. Blender is here for that. And that's why you have the shading and the sculpting and the modeling and the animating and the timeline, the NLA, outline, all that stuff and everything, the modifiers, the physics, and that's what all this stuff is for, the program itself. So don't think that you have to be, I got Fluent, everything's going to be done in Fluent. No, there's going to be a lot of stuff that Fluent does. And as big as BoxCutter and HardOps is, and they're huge programs, they don't do it all either. You can do a lot, but they don't do it all. You're at some point, and if you watch any kind of tutorial on BoxCutter or anything from the Blender Brothers or anyone out there, at some point they're going to commit all of those bowlings to actual geometry. And they're going to start working with the vertices and the lines and the faces to refine and put detail in their models. They are not going to use BoxCutter and HardOps for that. They're going to use it to get them to a certain point, and then when it comes down to the nitty gritty and getting serious and things and fixing problems, like moving verts around because you got shading issues and stuff and everything like that, you're going to have to be in modeling mode, and you're going to have to be in edit where you can edit all the geometry. And that's with every program. That's with Fluent also, and that's with every hard service program out there. So with that, let's first start out with some examples, quick examples on showing the difference between BoxCutter and Fluent. Okay, you see, this is where it might get a little confusing for people with Materializer. This is just a demo scene that comes with the add-on when you purchase it, along with a couple others that I'm going to open and show you here. But if we run, if we scroll out here, um, for those of you that aren't into nodes yet, like if you haven't got into shaders and shading and geometry nodes and just other stuff like that, just working with nodes in general, this might look really confusing, but technically it's not once you get all down to it. Especially if you get into Unreal Engine, most every blueprints and shading and most everything in there is done in nodes. Even the programming, for blueprints, if you want to get into that for C++, that's all done in nodes. So you don't really got to do any C++ programming, so to speak, because it's just pulling wires and plugging stuff in, and you're programming code instead of making shaders. So, but for a lot of the people that follow my channel are just starting out, and like I said, I want to cover I want to cover all add-ons, because everyone, one add-on might work for somebody, might not work for others, and vice versa, and all that stuff. But this is just one example that shows everything. Let's take a look at a more simpler example that lets you build from scratch. All right, now as you can see, here's a more simpler version, of it. This is basically just starting out. Lets you build on your own instead of a complete one like the other one was. Just your regular BSD and the material output. And this right here, we can pop into that. And now you see we, gets a, this is what goes on behind the scene in a lot of these shaders. For those of you that get KitOps, with EV materials and, pretty much any material add-on, where a lot of stuff is done behind the scenes. This is what's behind the scenes that, is already done for you. And this is basically why you're buying the program, because you don't have to mess with all this. And this is what you got to deal with. All the inputs and outputs are already done for you, and you just got to, plug everything in, and, Bob's your uncle, and you're ready to go. A lot of you don't understand, that other stuff that I just showed you. All this stuff here, But you will in time, Just give it time. You guys are working on it and everything. But yeah, it takes time, practice, and stuff like that. And you'll eventually get there. Alrighty, let's start out with BoxCutter here first. That way we can show that this is going to be something easy. I don't want to get into anything complicated or too difficult here. So let me switch over. Let me turn on BoxCutter. And let me see. What do we want to do? Okay, let me first. Okay, we got square. Let's put out a square. And slowing my computer down again. The recording software. That's good enough. We don't need to be perfect. Let's bend it down here. Okay, let's do this. Oh, cancel that. Just like Fluent, we need to have the object selected that we're working on. And let's cut this in here. Go down. We don't need to unset it or anything. And let's just start out with that. This is really simple. You see what we got. You see the look that we got here and everything. Um, and just like Fluent, we can go in here and pull up ever scroll, and we can click on this right here. Now here's where this differs. With BoxCutter and Fluent. When I have the cutter selected, we can go in here and we can edit the cutter. Maybe switch over to lines and see. I can go in here, select these lines. I can bevel this line, and stuff like that. And we can still see and get a hold of this cutter. And it, it's done a little bit differently in Fluent. So anyway, that'll be covered, later on. I just wanted to, point that out. And also, let me pull up full screen here. Let's take a look at our modifiers. We got one modifier in here, and that's the boolean right here, the box that I just showed you. Let's go back just real quick. Ever scroll right here. This is our boolean. If I take this whole thing and go into edit, you can see, let me go back to face select here. You can see our box is cut out right there, but I can't select it. You see, even if, put it on face, it just goes around it. It's like it's not even there. And it isn't there. Like I said, we haven't applied. Right here's our modifier. We haven't applied the modifier yet. So this is not actual geometry. If I wanted to work with this, like we had a shading issue or something like that, I would have to commit this to geometry, and we would lose, the ability to edit. We would have to actually edit the vertices and stuff from then on. And in Fluent, we could do it a little bit different. When we actually convert it, Fluent saves a copy, of the old one. You could go back and forth. But anyway, like I said, we will cover that, and we'll get into that. But I'm just showing, for those of you that are debating on, BoxCutter or Fluent or, whatever other hard service program there is out there, there's some more of them, that it's not the tool. It's never the tool. No matter what what you're talking about, even if you're talking about Photoshop and GIMP, it's not the software. It's the person using it. Master and learn what you're doing. Learn the basics. Learn how, everything works. And once you do that, it doesn't matter what software you have. You can figure it out. And if you want to work in this industry, you're going to need to be able to master that. The software is not going to have to be a problem for you. Because if you spend all your time learning Photoshop and everything, and you master Photoshop and everything, and you do get hired at a job, let's say a small company, with 2 or 3 people, a startup and stuff, cost is going to be important to them. They're just starting out. They might not have Photoshop. They might do all of their work and everything with GIMP. So what are you going to do? You're going to not work because it's GIMP and you don't know how to use it? When the tools are basically the same. Layers, and all that stuff, everything is just the same. Tools might be in a different spot, might be located, but nevertheless, the same tools that are in Photoshop are in GIMP and Krita and every other software program out there. So don't get hung up on the add-on or the software or whatever. They all do the same thing. All 3D software has vertices, lines, faces, all of them. Maya, Lightwave, Blender, Houdini, take your pick. They all work on the same principles. They all have booleans. They all have, add, subtract, and, everything. All of it. I know, and other YouTubers and other people, in tutorials have said this. CJ thought in his grid tutorial today says he starts the video out with that. Um, so remember that and understand that. Use the tool to get what you need. And then when you can't go nowhere with a tool, then commit it to actual geometry and continue working with it. So with this right here, this is what we managed to go for using our example. Now let's jump into Fluent and do the same thing. Alrighty, now here we are in Fluent. Wow, same. We're still in Blender, same thing. We're just going to switch over to Fluent. I got rid of the cube and everything. We're going to start over and do the same thing in Fluent. Try not to spend as much time with this because we already know what we're doing here and everything. So let's jump right into it. We don't need to get precise or anything. Let's just pull that there. Put this up. Move it up. Commit it. And there you go. There we are. Let's move back a little bit. Maybe up a little more. I want to position this so we all can compare pretty close to the same thing. And let's select our item, same as we did in BoxCutter, or else Fluent's going to do something different if you don't select it. We'll go back in, grab it, click on our grid up here. Oh, no. Wrong point. Got a little bit ahead of myself. Let's try that again. Let's try it there. Pull it out. Click. Oh, okay. Again. See, these things happen, but again, I'm glad this happened. This is not what I was wanting, but it was gonna cut into it just like BoxCutter did, and I have done this exact same mistake with BoxCutter also, and things like this happen. Sometimes you get ahead of yourself, So let's just commit this because no big deal. We know our tools, right? No big deal. We know Fluent. So let's select this, hold Shift, select the other one, pull up our menu, and click the button right here, Boolean. There we go. And now, we're not going to do anything to it. We're just going to commit it. But see, exact same look that we had in BoxCutter. Now, I was going to, like I said, mistakes. I was going to pull it out and cut it down like we did in BoxCutter. But, I got ahead of myself. And it turned it into a solid instead. And anyway, you guys will learn all of that. But it wasn't a problem. I understood. I knew what happened as soon as I did it. And, right away, as soon as I seen it, I'm like, I was gonna stop it and start and go back, like I did the first one when I messed it up and I went back and pulled it up. But, that would have been the second time that I screwed this up. So, but anyway, I thought to myself, I go, you know what? This is actually a good point to show something. That it's not a problem. It's not a problem. There's more than one way to do things. And that's why I did it like that. Select both of them and turn it into a Boolean and cut it out. And same effect, same thing. So not only did I use two different tools, but I did it in Fluent. You already know, well, some of you might know how I was originally going to do it, but it ended up doing it this way. So I showed you two ways to get the same cut. But that's the whole point about all these tools. Every one of them, no matter what kind of add-on you got, there's more than one way to do the same thing you're trying to do. All you got to do is know your tool, know how it works, and it's not that hard to figure it out. And knowing your tool just means learning your tools. If we go back in here go into edit mode. All these right here. Learn all of these, and let me pull that up again. And learn all the ones right now. There's only 2, but sometimes there's more tools over here on the right. All that. Learn all your tools and everything, how they work, and everything, and anything's possible. And like I said, let me jump back in this again. Once you're done, and you can't go any further. You're like, you know what? I got it as far as I go. There's more detail that I want, in these panels right here, or whatever it is you're working on. There's more stuff that I want to do. Then just go over here and commit it. Put it, assign it all, break it all down to geometry, and jump into edit mode. Now you see what we did in BoxCutter is not going to work here, because you see how this is selected right here, the white line right here. Well, if it's not selected and I click up here to select it, I'm clicking right now, and nothing is getting selected, and that's because there's nothing here, absolutely nothing committed here yet. But once I move down here to the bottom where this is, and I click, you see there's my white line again. Now I have something selected. I have it selected down here, but I can't select it up here. And I've showed you this in a previous video. Let's go into it here for those that missed that first one and don't have this one. Right here, it's just a square. That's all it is. And what happens is it puts a solidifier on it. And you know what? Let's do this. We're going to get rid of all of that. I'm going to show you something else here also. Again, since we're in Fluent, we can go a little longer. I'm sure you guys won't mind. Well, for the 4 or 5 of you that are still watching, according to my stats. Well, first of all, we don't want our cursor way up there. What was I going to do? Oh, okay, let's go back in Fluent. We're going to pick this. I'm going to hit C to use the circle select. We're going to pull this out. And you see, I didn't use the grid because you don't have to use the grid all the time. But when you get better, you get used. You know where is going to happen and all that stuff. But we'll click it, pull it up. We don't need go too high. Let's just do that. Pull it there and commit it. Okay, now let's zoom in here, nice and close, and see I can select this, but it's the same. Well, it's the same as the other one. See, I can't as high as this. None of this up here I can select. None of all of this up here, and you're wondering when I click on the bottom here, you're not seeing that white line that down here. So there's not just a plain circle down here either. So you might be thinking like, what's the deal? Well, again, understand Blender. You might not be on this panel right here. Don't pay attention to this. For those of you that watch or have heard me on the Discord and stuff, I have a lot of plugins, and this is just pro lighting right here. It's an add-on. We won't be getting into it. It's kind of pricey, for most of you. I think it's $126 to purchase it. Kind of like Botanic, which is an add-on that has all kinds of trees, bushes, and shrubs and stuff. It's about the same price. But all it is, it's just a lighting setup. I don't mean But I know someone might ask, hey, what was that add-on that you did that you show? But you see, these are just a whole bunch of different add-on templates for lighting. In this particular setup right here, there's also backgrounds, floor, reflections, and stuff like that. And also, there's setups here, character setups, object setup, vehicle setups. Like I said, we're not going to get into this, but I didn't mean to show that. But let's say, you're somewhere else, like that. But you're trying to figure this, you're like, I'm in edit mode, but, how is this even here? How come I can't select none of it or anything like that? And you're like, okay, well, I can't, model it, so it has to be done by modifiers. That's the only other way that it could be done. Well, technically geometry nodes, but like I said, we'll get into that's another topic for a different day. But all you gotta do is go over here to your modifiers, and you see there's 4 modifiers that make up this tube right here. So let's do this. Let's turn them all off. Let's zoom in down here at the bottom. You can see our little origin point right there, the little pink dot. First, it starts out with that line right there. You're like, okay. Then it's going to screw it. We can see right here's a screw modifier, which is going to spin it around. Then we're going to decimate. And you didn't see anything, but, like again, for those of you that don't know all your modifiers, this is more intermediate and advanced, when you get into these, because there's a lot of modifiers. And shaders also, those are 2 big topics that come later on in your Blender learning. And then lastly, we have our shape. We have it filled in. All we need to do is go up now. So you're like, well, how can we go up? Well, you go up by solidify. And that's how we get to this point. Now, again, we go back. My recording software, I go faster than my recording software, and that's what messes me up on my pie menu. But we go back to here, and that's why when we go into edit mode, we can't select nothing. We can't do anything because there's actually, that was my fault there. There's actually nothing there yet. We have to commit this. In other words, you have to go over here and auto-complete this, which will get rid of all these modifiers and apply this to actual geometry. And then we can go in and work on it. Now, whereas, let me just real quick here, scoot this over to the side real quick. Show you, we'll bring up BoxCutter again. Let me turn it on first. Whereas in BoxCutter, let me make sure. Let's go into circle. We can go down here. Okay, we'll make a smaller one. But let's move it up. We can, now BoxCutter does things differently. See, we made this with BoxCutter. We can go into edit mode. You see we got actual geometry in here. There's no modifiers. So, again, this is all about know your add-ons. They both do the same thing, just in different ways. That's all. This has advantages. This has a lot more advantages to it than this does. But this is more simpler than this. This has a lot more advantages to it because under the surface, inside BoxCutter and HardOps and stuff, there is more to do. Like if I was to get into all of this stuff here, all these operators, and all, everything in here. Although mesh machine or mesh tools is in here too, but again that's a different add-on, but still works with BoxCutter. But you get the point. Um, it's it's not the add-on. The add-on is just a tool for you to use, and I'm going to show you that. And we're going to use Materializer and Fluent to do our modeling. We could do it, you know, with BoxCutter or any other tools out there, or we could do it in default Blender. It's all a matter about your preferences, how much time you have. If you have a lot of time and you're just playing around and stuff, you don't need any add-ons at all. Just build everything, single thing with default Blender. It'll take you a little longer because there's more steps involved to do the same thing. But that's all. That's all there is to this. And this probably is one too longer than it should. But that's me. I'm a talker. But I like explaining things to my new people that are here, to seriously learn and to pick this stuff up. And hopefully, they don't get stuck having to ask too many questions, because my time is limited, between 10 channels that I have and also teaching my people in the membership, that are paying for, added material and stuff, and because they got stuck on something or they just want more in-depth coverage on it and stuff like that. But yeah, that's why I talk a lot and I try to explain as much as I can. I show everything and I try to break everything down, as simple as I can. And that's about all for now. We'll catch you guys in the next video. Have a nice weekend coming up. This is Wednesday for me, Wednesday night. But Thursday does officially start the weekend, All right, we'll catch you guys later.